I want to particularly extend a warm welcome to anyone who is on the North American West Coast. We know it's very early. We wanted to find a time that would work out well for our European customers as well as yourselves. It looks like maybe the pendulum went a little too far in the other direction. So we have heard, and next time we'll try to we'll probably have 2 webinars to make sure that everyone can attend at an appropriate time. But for those of you who did make it today, thanks very much for attending. So what we'll do today is we'll actually have Kevin Sequeira, who many of you already know. He's the General Manager of Tenrox at Upland and also our Director of Product Management. He will be giving us an overview of the product vision, strategy, and the main features in this release. And then I myself, Eric Damaris, a Senior Solution Consultant with Tenrox, will take you through more of a product presentation. So a few housekeeping elements before we jump in. If throughout the presentation you do have any questions, we would be very happy to hear about them. So unfortunately, there's quite a few of you on the line, so we'll have to use the GoToWebinar chat box that should be on the right side of the window. So throughout the presentation, please feel free to ask any questions, whether it's questions directed to Kevin regarding the product vision, or throughout the product presentation as well. And we'll be spending 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the session today answering any questions that might have come up. We are also recording the session today. So if that's something you want to refer to later on, if you want to share it with any of your coworkers who could not make it, we'll be happy to provide this as well. So let's go ahead and jump in this case. Kevin, the floor is all yours.
All right, thank you, Eric, and again, welcome everyone to the webinar. On behalf of Tenrox and especially the product management team, I'm really proud to take you all through our latest and greatest release, which is the 2015 R1 version. As Eric mentioned, this is being recorded, so during the presentation we might show a few links. You don't have to make a note of it. It will be sent to you as part of the recording and as part of this PowerPoint that we will send over in the next 48 hours. So just first take a step back. For those of you that attended our user conference or have been in conversations with anyone at Upland, you're probably familiar with what our guiding principles are as a product, and definitely I see that being reflected in this version or in this release of Tenrox, which is primarily driven by our stability, scalability, and quality initiatives, and that being the foundation to work on features that are driven by customer-driven innovation. So as we run through some of the new modules or features we brought out and some of the quality initiatives, it might seem familiar to some of you because we have worked with you, our customers, on some of these features through the design, through the beta program, and also through the upgrade process as well. So a few bullet points about the release. So the GA release, or the general availability release, was on the 15th of July. If you've already not received an email, you will be receiving one soon from the upgrade team to sort of lay down the upgrade schedule on when you would be upgraded. So please keep an eye out for that email from Eugene, who's part of our upgrade team. And also, in the next screen, we will provide you links to our press release, to the release notes, as well as a web page that sort of highlights what's there in this release. So that takes us to what is part of the release. So the two major cornerstone features of the release is a new module called Project Status Reporting, and also a new enhancement to the existing product feature that we have at Tenrox, which helped us create a form called Product Central. In addition, there are quite a few enhancements around the user experience. We've upgraded and brought out a new layer of visualization on Upland Analytics. There are quite a few enhancements on the financial planner. As some of you remember, our last release in December had a complete redesign of the financial plan, including new ways to forecast out your revenue. And in this version, we've added some enhancements to that. On the project team, we've built in a forecasting rate engine, so similar to the rate engine that we have, where you can go in and put billing rules and cost rules in the system. We've now enabled that feature from a forecasting perspective as well, and it sort of ties into the financial planner. We've gotten a lot of feedback from you on some of the minor urgency you've had in the way notes are being tracked in the system on the timesheets. So we've reacted to that and basically given you a better user experience on the timesheet, especially on the notes where notes are auto-saved, and there's a better tabbing feature on that. And then from an infrastructure perspective, there's a lot of work that happens in the background to keep up with the latest technologies. And one of the items that we've brought out in this release is the new grid control, which enables our end users to better configure what they would like to see on the grids in the system, so all the list screens that you've seen, and in addition to improving the performance of these because of the inherent improvements that the new control that we've implemented bring in. And as usual, we have a few integrations that we've upgraded with our partners, so basically giving you compatibility with some of the latest releases that our partner vendors have. We have a few quick links here. Again, this will come out to you in an email, so you don't have to scramble to make a note of this, but we just want to highlight that you can get more information about this. We have a press release. There's also a web page that talks specifically about the features of this release, and in addition, the release notes, which gives much more detailed information on what this release entails. So with that, what I'd like to do is just jump in and give everyone an overview of the features. It'll probably take me about roughly about 15 minutes to go through the section. And at the end of that, Eric will run through and do a demo of all the features that we've just gone through. And then with the time left over, we leave it open for any questions that you might have, either specifically on the features that we've gone over or just in general about the Tenrox product. Now again, during the presentation, if you do, or during the webinar, if you do have any questions, please feel free to type them into the question window on the webinar. As some of you have noticed, you are muted, so if you verbally ask your questions, we will not be able to hear them. So let's go over into the first major feature in this module called the project status reporting module. Excuse me. And what this does is it allows project and portfolio managers and group managers to easily track a time phase status update. So in the previous versions of Tenrox, if you had to go in and give an update on a project, you probably would have been creating user-defined fields on a project tab. And then your project managers would go in, type in an update, and then you'd probably have a custom report that reads off it. While it sort of did the work, it wasn't, we didn't really have a true way for you to do a time phase status reporting on a project. And what we've been able to do in this release is get in that additional module that essentially allows you to do this in a more scalable and a more elegant way. Some of the highlights of this is it's completely configurable, so the items that you would like to give an update on, so the KPIs, are completely configurable in the system. There's the opportunity for you to lock certain periods so that people are not able to go in and undo updates from, let's say, 3 or 4 periods back. And we've also introduced a new archiving capability that essentially allows you to archive your entries, and it takes those entries and actually puts it into an archiving table, so that if you're using the system for, let's say, 3-4 years, you probably don't want to have some of the older entries in them showing up when you're running your reports or when you're going onto the grid to be able to look at them. It also points out any late updates. So as a portfolio manager, when you go into your view, you'll be able to look at Well, here are the 5 projects for which my PMs have not yet given an update for this period. So at one glance, you'll be able to look at this. And then in addition, we built in views on the project status reporting module that will allow you to look at the trendings on how your project is doing. So how would you make use of this feature? We sort of bundled this into a new license called Project Collaboration, which will include the project status reporting module of PSR, TPP, which is the project planning tool that's right now a desktop version, and the online planner, which is currently being worked on and is envisioned to be released in the R2 release later this year. So if you do have a license for TPP, you will get this module at no additional charge. If you do not have TPP but wish to make use of this, then please contact your customer success manager, and they'll be able to talk to you about the various options available to you. So let me just show you a brief visual on what this module looks like and how this would operate. So typically, you would go into the application, you'd click on a link called Project Status, and you sort of come up to the screen where things are laid out to you, pretty cleanly, and you're able to get to the information directly on one screen without having to tab or click through various screens. So at the left-hand quadrant right here is a view that allows you to look at all the projects for which you are either reporting on a status or have the visibility to view that status. And as Eric will demonstrate, the option here allows you to change the views that are available to you. So right now on the screen, I'm in my project, so typically as a PM, I would see all the projects that I'm the project manager on, and clicking on one of these, the project list on top will allow me to look at the update history that's been tracked against this particular project. And then clicking on a particular update period brings me to the meat of the screen, which is this KPI form that will allow me to give updates against the project. So all the information that you see here, for example, in the screenshot, the comments, the migration plan, completed and planned activities are completely configurable by you. You can go in and based on your organization, design the screen as you see fit. In the first version, it is a standard template that will apply across the organization, so you cannot customize it by project. And again, from what we've seen, typically there is no need to customize a project status update by project. Typically, as a best practice, you would want to have a uniform template applied across your organization, so when you're doing trending reports, you're sort of comparing apples to oranges and not trying to do additional analytics to differentiate what does this KPI mean on one project versus the other. So again, a PM would go in, put in the entries, click on submit, and it sort of stays in a draft mode where the entry is submitted, it is available for reporting, but it's not yet completed. And then at the end of the period, the PM can then complete that entry and thus locking it, and then allowing you to then move on to the next period for reporting. If you have a project team assigned and if you've uploaded pictures of your project team, you have that accessible for you directly on the screen. You're able to email either the PM or the team members. And then you have additional KPI showing up here that you can configure as well. So really becoming a central point for the project managers to run the day-to-day operations of your project. And as we move into a more collaborative mode in our next releases, the ability to go in and verbally or track statuses against projects that are not actuals will play a key role in sort of having a better rounded solution that allows you to track the status of a project both through actual reporting, so people entering time or expenses, but also through a status update. So we're very pleased to bring out this feature. Our professional services team at Upland has been using it for the last few months, and we've gotten very positive feedback from them. And also for those of you that were part of our beta program, first of all, we'd like to thank you for being part of that and also for giving us updates. So a great addition to the PSA solution, and we hope a lot of you will be able to take advantage of this. The next feature that I'd like to go over is the Product Central module. And what the Product Central module allows you to do is, if you're an organization that does a lot of recurring billing, if you have a lot of products that you bill out, let's say either subscription or additional charges against a particular project, this feature will enable you to quickly go in and give updates against, or rather bill out recurring product entries. It allows you to have a grid view where you can go in and say, and envision a quantity that you can bill out, and then every month, or you can go in and update that actual billing so that at the end of a period you can look at how much did we forecast or how much did we budget out versus how much have we actually consumed in the system. Now, if you do have the billing module at Tenrox, this is available at no additional charge. If you do not have the billing module and would like to take advantage of this, then as before, we'd encourage you to please talk to your customer success manager to see how you can get access to this feature. So how does this look from a visual perspective? Again, a very simple grid view where you are able to go in and sort of define a schedule for a certain amount of products, put in the number of units that you envision selling for the life of that project, and having a unit price so that you get a total amount. You can also define if this product entry is billable or not. So if it's billable, it'll show up on an invoice. If it's not, it just comes across as a cost against that particular project. And then every month, you can go in and indicate the number of units that you would like to bill out. So earlier, rather than doing this in Excel, you now have something integrated into the system for your finance or your billing team to accurately track this in a very scalable method. And as you hover over the entries, it'll also show you, once you put in these entries, how many of them have been approved, how many of them have been invoiced, and how many of this have been recognized as well. So if you have the need to go in on your projects and fill out entries on a regular basis, rather than going in and creating individual product entries in the system, you do have the capability to now sort of put in a template on how you envision the billing to occur, and then every month go in and as you incur those entries, put in an entry, it gets automatically approved, and then that will then show up on the invoice. So again, a pretty good addition to the billing capabilities, allowing you to more easily interact with the system. The next enhancement that we've had is we've added a brand new visualization layer on Upland Analytics. So this allows you to create reports that look very impressive. They are dynamic, so the graphical UI looks much better now. And in addition, as we mentioned in our first release of Upland Analytics, we will constantly keep adding new views to the system. So this release brings about 9 new views, including the view for the project status reporting. And this is a theme that you would continue to see in our releases, which is adding new views to Upland Analytics. And in addition, any new feature or module that we will build will automatically have new views coming into the system. So this way, you're better able to interact and use that feature and not have to build custom reports or SQL Server reporting services reports to extract data out. We want it to be more and more self-service. So here are some of the visualizations that we have. Again, all of this is dynamic. As you build out the report, you can see the graphs dynamically change. As you hover over them, it shows you a summary. And another feature is they're also synced to geolocations. So based on the sites that you have, where your projects or your customers are, you are able to get a geocentric view on where your revenue or your costs or your roles or your resources are in the system. The next feature we've done is additions to the financial planner and the project team. So there are more views built into the system, more forecasting methods. So, so for example, a billable percentage of completion, and in the addition of now showing you the time entry details on the financial planner. And on the project team, we built in a new forecasting rate engine that behaves similar to the actual rate engine. So what that means is you can go in and put in a billing rate on your project team. And then as you enter actuals in the system, you get actual revenue. But before a project begins, you can now also go in and associate that cost of billing rate to forecasted information as well. So this way, you do not have to just use one field as was in the previous versions to calculate forecasted cost of revenue. You can do it by using one of the actual billing rules in the system. Again, it allows you the flexibility to indicate that the actual billing rule can also play the role of the forecasted rule, or you can go in and have separate rules as well. In the current version, these calculations show up on the financial planner, and in the next release, they will roll over into the resource planning module as well. So all the out-of-the-box reports that we have in the resource planning module will make use of the forecasted rate engine in the next version of Tenrox. So here's a visual on what the financial planner looks like. So again, you have a budget summary where you're able to go in and look at the budgets that you have associated against that project, the ability to go in and look at time entries by roles, and then different forecasting methods that have been added in the background that will allow you to do more methods of being able to forecast your revenue. And here are the changes that we've done on the project team. In previous versions of Tenrox, you sort of had a static view on what this forecasted cost and billing rule would look like. But in this version, you have the ability not just to look at the current active forecasted rate against that particular project, but also directly from the screen go in and associate new forecasting costs and billing engine, provided you have security access to do so. So this is sort of a phased approach to us having a more rounded forecasting rate engine. So the architecture and the framework is already in place, and we've rolled that out specifically for the financial planner. But in the next versions, you can see that being rolled out to the resource planning module, and also taking this forecasting rate engine and adding it to roles as well in the organization. Again, a great UX or a user experience feature that we've brought in is the ability for timesheet notes to be auto-saved and also better tabbing. So the idea is, once you click on an entry, the notes tab will pop up. As you type in, notes get automatically auto-saved. And then when you click on tab, it moves on to the next grid so that you have a better user experience with the system. From an infrastructure perspective, we brought out a new grid control that's been rolled out to a few screens in the application. And it sort of conforms to our cleaner UI that we rolled out a few years back, but has some great features that allows you to completely modify the columns on the grids, name them as you wish, so you can override the default terminology. We'll be gradually converting all the links to be transferred onto buttons to be in line with the flat UI that we rolled out. Search controls have been moved to the right hand to make it more intuitive. And core features on that grid control like enhanced sorting, a modified column design, and also a new date control that we've rolled out in this version as well. And inherently, you will get better performance on these grids because of the newer technologies that we've used, including server-side caching for some of this data. Again, continue along the infrastructure and architecture path. SSO is now available for the Tenrox mobile app. So if you've been using SSO to log into the Tenrox application on the web page, you can use those same credentials to now access Tenrox mobile. So you do not need to have a separate password for Tenrox mobile. You can use the same password as your network credentials. Again, this will definitely bring about better adoption in your organization for the mobile device as well. And as part of the upgrade, our upgrade team will talk to your team, to your technical team, so that we're on the same page when we enable mobile SSO as well. For some reason, if you do not enable mobile SSO, you can still continue to use the application just using the Tenrox credentials as well. And just a note on the mobile, since the mobile application has it's sort of based on a separate framework, we are able to push out updates to the mobile app separate from a release, so we don't have to wait to the release. So keep an eye out for some more enhancements that will be out at the end of July, including better access to view receipts that you've uploaded with the expense mobile app, and also the ability for you to assign tasks on the mobile. So right now, some of the tasks on the mobile have to be assigned through the web app. This is just to prevent the load, or if you have a large number of projects or tasks we hadn't enabled it in the first version to make sure that you didn't have a performance issue on the mobile device, but now by the end of the month, there will be an option for you to self-assign a filtered list of tasks onto your mobile time and expense tasks as well. We've updated our APIs for the currency exchange to support the latest list of currencies based on ISO 4217. And in addition, we've also updated the exchange rate engine, so that the performance when it's going in and calling and talking to our currency exchange provider is faster as well. And the last screen that I have is just a note on some of the updated partner integrations that we have around the accounting systems, CRM, and project management. So if you do have any of these versions being used in your organization, the Tenrox application now has out-of-the-box support for these versions as well. So I know it was quite a lot to sort of digest in such a short time, but again, you'll have access to all of this information offline when we send over the recording, and also our upgrade team will be having an implementation versions of your environment, so you'll be able to log in and take a look at that as well. So with that, we have about 30 minutes left in this webinar, and I'll hand it off to Eric, who will demo the features that we just went through, and then take us all the way down to the end to the Q&A session as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Kevin. And again, there's a few questions in the chat box, so rest assured we will keep some time towards the end to cover any questions that come up. So feel free to write them away if you do have any clarifications you're looking for, any topics you'd like Kevin to cover. But for now, we'll go ahead and jump into Tenrox itself to give a bit of an overview on some of the items that we just referred to that are now available as part of 2015 Tenrox 2015 R1. So again, a quick note: this isn't meant to be a training session. It really is meant to be a bit of an overview on some of the topics we've covered today. So let's go ahead and start off with the project status reporting. So you notice here, well, you should first of all be seeing a Tenrox screen. You see on the top right that I'm now logged in as Mark. So we'll see how Mark would be able to leverage the project status reporting module from 3 different points of view today. So first we'll have a look at it from the point of view of a project manager. Mark is managing a number of projects, so he'll want to go ahead and fill out some of these project status reports. You also notice on the top right that Mark has, or is set up as an administrator in the solution, so we'll see how you would be able to configure the status reporting. That's something that's done directly via the web browser as usual, dragging and dropping to add fields, KPIs, and structure this and tailor it to the way you work in your organization. And we'll also see how Mark is able to look at a portfolio. Maybe he's also a practice manager, how he's able to look at the status, a number of reports, and export the data out, archive it, report on it. So let's go ahead and jump to the project status reporting section. So this is in the same section as time entry, the expense reporting. Makes sense because from this point of view, we'll want Mark to go ahead and fill out this status update. So let's actually have a look at this status update form. You see it, first of all, on the right side of the screen. This is the structure that you would be tailoring. In this case, we kept it really simple, just project name and client, a couple key KPIs, so how much time, how much billing we've done so far, and then I've also included a couple fields like a text box where we can add some more qualitative information. How do we fill this out for a particular project? Well, we'll go to our list of projects that show up here on the top left of the screen. So in this case, I'm looking at a view. These are only my projects as in the ones I am managing as a PM. And I can go ahead and click on any of these projects here to see in the bottom left section list of the previous updates that I've done in the past. So last week, I have updated this project, and we can see the information now be filled out to the right with these KPIs that were locked down, an explanation of the status, and the ability to interact with this if I need to communicate with the rest of the team. We also see here a project that's not doing so well, so let's go ahead and see what this one looks like. And in this case, I have a few more updates, and to the right you see that there's now the health indicator that is amber. So we'd also maybe want to enrich this a little bit with some additional explanation, or I can also fill out a new report here for the current week, because in this case we've set up the status reporting to be done on a weekly basis. I could say that this project's doing a lot better, back on track, save this, and actually submit it, and potentially also lock it so that it cannot be modified anymore. So you see that we now have a trend reporting, or we have a bit of a status here. This is something that we'd be able to export out to Excel if we need to manipulate the data or share it with others who would not necessarily have access to Tenrox. A quick note also in terms of archiving. I know this is something that Kevin pointed out earlier on. Eventually, if we update the status of the project every week, if this is a project that's been going on for quite some time, we might want to archive some of the information here so that it doesn't clutter our reports. So we have the ability to either archive all or maybe a subset of these reports here, and then you'll see that they now are still available, but they're still in the database, but they are hidden from this view, they're hidden from the reports, so that we could focus on the status as of today. Now, as I pointed out, this status report here to the right side of the screen is configurable. So you have the ability to tailor this. How would we do that? Well, we can actually do this directly via the web interface as well. This is configured via our project setup screen. So in the same area, you would already be defining your user fields, where you would be setting up your project workflows, where you see here as an administrator, I have access to this project status reporting setup. You see at the top 3 tabs, and these correspond to the 3 different sections we had in our status report. At the top, you remember we had our project name, our client name. I can just go ahead and drag and drop some additional fields in here. Let's say I want to include the portfolio. I'm not too keen on the project start, so I'll go ahead and get rid of it and maybe drag the project in here. So you can set up your own form here, and the same idea will apply to the other tabs that we see. So the list of KPIs include things like budgets versus actuals that we can, once again, go ahead and drag and drop, forecasts, roll-ups, and some other items like risks and issues that you would want to track. So let's go ahead here and include our current let's say cost budget that we'll want to include to our actual cost. I'll just go ahead and type this in here. And here we go. This is how we're able to add some additional fields to the KPI section. And we could keep on going like this. We don't have that much time today, so I'll maybe skip over adding a brand new field, but you see something here like the explanation of status we were looking at is something that is not necessarily built into Tenrox. It's something that you would really create on your own. So I save this, and then this takes effect in real time. Back to our status report here, you now see that to the right side of the screen, I have the portfolio, I have the cost, budget, and the actuals displayed, so we can drill into any other project and see this information automatically populated from real-time Tenrox data, and also being able to drill down into it as appropriate. Okay, so that was a quick overview of the entry and the administration of the status reporting. Let's go to the third section of the PSR, which is kind of looking at this from the point of view of a portfolio manager or let's say a practice lead. For this particular case, we'll actually focus on what's here on the top left. Instead of looking at the project I'm managing, I want here to look at the project maybe that are within my portfolio or updates that are late. So you see here on the top right that there's the ability to restrict or actually reconfigure what's on the top left so that you're immediately able to identify projects that are not doing so well, projects where you don't have the right information to make the right decisions directly from this same project status screen here. As Kevin pointed out, all this information is also available via the Upland reporting. So there's a view specific to project status reports that would also allow you to take this information, feed it into dashboards, combine it, and slice and dice it according to the dimensions within your organization. Great. So before we get into the Product Central, which is another big cornerstone, as Kevin was saying, of this new release, I wanted to show you a couple improvements to the user interface. You notice here that the grid we are looking at, actually the different grids we see here are very clean, very much in line with our flat UI. Well, we've actually applied this idea to many other grids within the solution. So if I go, for example, and configure my list of users, the administrators of the Tenrox solution within you today will recognize how different the screen is, how it's a lot cleaner. So this is something that we really updated across the entire solution. This is also a change we've done to our product entries list, as you can see here. And the reason I'm breaking this up is because this ties in directly to Product Central. So we've kept the idea of products. We've kept this integrated with the approval process. We've kept this integrated to the billing and the reporting. But now there is a new interface called Product Central that allows us to look at a particular project and define a schedule of, actually a plan, and also define a schedule of actuals that were of work that's been done for this particular project in terms of products. So what I've done here is I've actually, we're actually drilling into a specific project. Let me move this section here a little over to the right. And what you see in the middle is a schedule of months and then the number of units that we have delivered for each month. This is then compared to a total number of units for that particular task associated to a price that feeds into here our total planned amount as well as to an amount for each period. So these could be physical widgets, but just like the products you're already using in Tenrox, they could also be a little more abstract. They could be, for example, tokens that you're using when you bill out the work to your clients. In this case, for this project, I have a number of these units that we're using to write reports, but I could also add a new row, maybe using also these units or a different set of units at a different price for things like training. So you configure, actually, this is the same set of tasks that are already set up for your regular projects. I have here, let's say, a list of products that you would configure. So in this case, it's more of an invoice. And then we expect to be delivering 150 units at potentially a different price here for this particular task. As we deliver on the work, a project manager or administrator will go ahead and fill out the number of amounts. So let's say here we've done some training in the month of July, and this corresponds to 50 of these units. Maybe it's 50 hours. I'll go ahead and fill out the form, automatically populates the amount here, automatically populates the completed and the remaining here that is calculated on the fly.
And one of the things that we've seen where we've had our customers actually take this and use it in a slightly different way. Well, we envision this just to be billing out product entries. We've actually seen customers looking to use this to invoice contractors out to their end users as well. So rather than having going through and just doing milestones, if you are having users that you bill out at a regular rate to your customers, then we've seen people go in where the product is, they have the name of their contractors, they envision billing this contractor out at a certain rate, and then rather than going through the timesheet or through creating just flat charges in the system, we've seen this also being used to bill out contractors. So again, something for you guys to think about if you do have a need to easily bill out units of whether it's non-labor kind of objects, or if it's people in your organization, here's a quick way for you to go in and do that as well.
Great. So once we've entered that information here, this will feed into the rest of the usual Tenrox capabilities around products. This includes the ability to take them through an approval process. So as I'm reviewing this list here, I might want to approve all entries up to a certain date. So here we could approve everything up until the end of June, or maybe just because I entered some now up until the end of July. And this will feed into the rest of the invoicing process, potentially feeding into revenue recognition, and also, of course, feeding out into reports. So back to the product screen we were looking at just a second ago, as we were saying, this information is still available. So we still have the ability to review any of these line items. Actually, you see a number of these items that were automatically populated based on what I just filled out. I can drill down into them. I can see the corresponding amounts. I can see that this is a billable entry, but it's locked out. It's locked in this case because we're using Product Central to manage these items at a higher level.
Yeah, and just to elaborate to what Eric said, the reason we lock them is when you, if you do enable Product Central for a particular project, there's a link between the product entries and sort of the schedule that's assigned for it. So on the left-hand grid that Eric had shown us, you have the ability to go in and put in the number of units and the unit price. So that sort of forms like a budget for that product. And as you create those entries, we need to create a link between the entries created and the budget so we can show remaining. So that's the reason if you do enable Product Central for a particular project, when you go to the regular product screen, the entries are only available in read-only mode because we'd like to create and maintain that link between the actual entry and the Product Central rules, so to speak. So that's just something for you guys to watch out for and to be aware of. You can either use one or the other, but if you do use Product Central, the product view becomes read-only.
Okay, great. So that was a high-level overview of the project status reporting and of Product Central. There's quite a number of enhancements within this release as well that Kevin pointed out. Let me just show you a couple different ones. Then we'll build a report quickly together so that you can see some of the new visualization options within Plan Analytics in this release. And then we'll tackle the questions that came up in the last hour or so. So first thing I want to talk about is from a financial planner point of view. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I did want to show the screen here and show you how we've done some improvements in terms of the information that is displayed here. For example, more information as to when the information is being loaded. Also, you notice here on the left side of the screen the type of revenue forecasting that you're doing, whether it's percentage of completion, time and materials, milestone, is displayed directly from here, so easier to understand if it changes from a project to another. So you can kind of resize this around on the fly. And I also want to point out that there's a new line item here that is being rolled out that's available that instead of showing the total time that is entered against a project, also includes the billable time here. So this is also used in a new forecasting method that's available, feeding into allowing you to only use the billable time to build a forecast instead of all hours entered against the project.
And for those of you who are not familiar with the financial planner, just a quick recap. The financial planner essentially brings across data from different Tenrox modules onto one screen, so you can have a look at actuals being entered in the system from timesheets, expense reports, charges, or products. It brings you forecasted information available from the resource planning module, and then essentially allows your PMs, your portfolio managers, or even your finance team a combined view of the actual information that you have to date and the forecasted information that is forward-looking. So it allows you to truly look at what's the revenue or the cost that I can incur and how am I trending against that. So again, this is a relatively new feature we brought out maybe a couple of releases back. So if you're not familiar with that, you can have a look at it on our website, and also reach out to your customer success managers if you'd like to get additional information that's not available through our online help.
Great. From an end user point of view, a couple quick items of interest. One of them is the, let me actually pull up a browser window here. I'm logged in as a team member or a consultant. One of them is the ability to track notes in a slightly more convenient way than before. So if I drill into Tenrox timesheet here, if I want to capture time as usual, we just go to the different boxes and enter the hours. But if we expand this time entry window here, you notice that the notes screen looks a little different. So it allows me, of course, to enter some additional information. The note is automatically saved. So just like the time entries, as soon as I click tab or as soon as I click away, this information is automatically saved on the cloud, so you can report on it. You can still use it for invoices, and you can still report on it. So a little more convenience here from a team member's point of view regarding the notes entry. On a similar note, if your team members, if your consultants are using the mobile app, there's the ability to log in now with your network credentials. So it's a little hard to demo this here, but instead of entering a specific Tenrox username and password, you can use so your Active Directory or your computer login credentials from this point of view. So just before we answer the questions, last thing I want to do is talk a little bit about the ability to use some of the new visualizations in the reporting. This will also allow us to go back to our administrator screen here and have a look at some of these additional views that are available if we create ad hoc upline analytics reports directly here from the web browser. So let's go ahead and create a new report together. We'll just give this a name here. I'll go ahead and design this report just like you would as a business user within Tenrox, and you'll see here that we'll get a list of different views that are available on top of which we can build our reports. So this includes, of course, the standard project and user information, but you also notice some of the additional views we were just referring to. Project status reporting, expenses, charges, and products are available. So at the top here, you have a great summary of this new information that's available. Just for now, I'll start off by creating a report with some of the user information I've prepared here and show you how we can quickly get some insights into who is working from or within our organization. So what I've done here is I've taken the country field, so this tells us where each user within the organization lives or works, and we'll go ahead and just do a quick report on how many users we have working in each country. So this is something that was, of course, already available within Tenrox. Gives us a very simple list here of these different countries and how many individuals we have working in each one of them. So the information is likely to be very different on your side, but that, even with filtering, for example, might give us something that is that is interesting, that we can export out to a number of formats. But what we'd like to do, and what a lot of you are expecting nowadays, is to get more of a visualization layer on top of this kind of information, going a little further than just a grid or a spreadsheet like this. So what we can do is build charts. We already had the ability to build pie charts and bar charts. With this new visualization option, you see that there's a number of different additional options that are available. These include trees and trend reports, like Kevin pointed out earlier on. If we scroll down, you also see a Pareto chart, matrix, and heat maps. This very interesting sunburst here for drill downs. But for today, I have some geographical information. So what I thought we could do is maybe plot this on a chart of the world. So let's go ahead and choose this world tour chart. And that's really all I need to do. If I go and click on preview, what we'll see is alongside this grid that we have below, I now have plotted the information on the planet. I can have it automatically scroll, or I can move around, drag and drop, click on different countries, and see the information that is that underlying here. So this is just an example of the new level of visualization that we can add on top of what we have here today. Certainly something that you can explore also on your own, as we described before. So this takes us to the end of the product presentation portion. What we'll do at this point is take the few minutes we have left to answer a couple of the questions that came up. So I'll let Kevin go ahead and maybe tackle the first question we have here.
Sure. So I think one of the questions we have is, can the data entered in the PSR module be shared with customers that do not have the online planner module currently? So I guess the question is, if we do not have the project collaboration license, can we get a demo, or can we get access to the PSR so that you can share it within the organization for people to look at the benefits of using this module? So yes, that's definitely something that is possible. What we encourage you to do is just speak to your CSM. We can definitely enable a trial version of the PSR so that you can look at its capabilities, and before you decide that that's something you might want to take a look at. A question around when will this version be available to customers? It is already available. Our upgrade team has started doing the upgrade path. So you would be receiving an email from the upgrade team to let you know when your instance of Tenrox will get upgraded. Obviously, that can be a conversation that you have with your upgrade manager to ensure that it doesn't impact any month ends or quarter ends that you might want to look at as well. But it has been available since the 15th of July, and the upgrade process typically is that a copy of your production environment will be taken, and you'll have an implementation or a sandbox environment with a new version. If you've not gotten the email yet, you can, and would like to get this earlier than or sooner than later, please feel free to get in touch with your CSMs, and they will arrange for this version to be available for you to take a look at.
Another quick question here regarding the date format in the presentation we saw today. So the date format is something, just want to make sure everyone's on the same page. The date format is something that can be configured in Tenrox. So I know today we were looking at date, month, year, which is more of a European date format. Certainly, if you prefer to have month, day, year, that's something that can be configured as well. So just wanted to make sure that it was only a specific of this demo site today, something you can do.
Question around the SSO for mobile, and how does this work? Is this only enabled for company devices versus personal devices? Because of the nature of the architecture around SSO for mobile, your users would be required to enter their username every time they want to access it, because there's no You can't really be authenticated onto a company device on your mobile. The difference being the password that you enter is the same as your network password. So you do not have to remember two passwords. So if you download the app onto your device on any of the 4 platforms, iOS, Android, Windows, or BlackBerry, you will be, based on your organization, if you have SSO enabled, you'll get a message to enter your network credentials. If you don't, it'll ask you to enter your Tenrox credentials. So the main difference is in the password field. If you have SSO enabled, you will have to enter your SSO password. Questions around, can the animated visuals be exported? Unfortunately, no. When you do export an animation out, it does change into a static view of that information. It's just inherent based on the technology. You are able to look at the animations on the screen. Let's say you export it out to Excel or to a Word document, it does get become static at this point.
There's a few questions in the chat box as well regarding some additional capabilities for some of the modules we saw today. So for example, in terms of the project status reporting, archiving, locking. So if this is something that there is interest, if you have some interest regarding this within your organization, certainly we're happy to set up a call, set up a demo with you, and have a look at some of these functionalities in a little more detail. So reach out to your customer success manager, and we'll be happy to pick up the conversation there.
And so there's quite a few questions that we haven't been able to answer just because from a time constraints. But what we would do is when we send out this presentation, we will reach out to you and have a one-on-one to answer some of the questions that you brought up. Fortunately, we are out of time. But again, we'd like to thank you all for taking the time to come in and listen to this webinar. We are definitely excited about the new release. The team's been hard at work working on this for the past 7 months. The initial feedback has been amazing. We've rolled this out internally at Upland, so our entire Upland family of products is using Tenrox for their professional services organization, and the feedback's been great. We're excited to have you guys take a look at this new version as soon as possible. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your customer success manager or directly to Eric or myself if you have our contact information, and we'll be more than happy to continue the dialogue with you. So again, thanks for attending. Have a great rest of the day, and for the next webinars, we will be having 2 to accommodate different time zones. So for those of you guys on the West Coast, you don't have to get up as early as you did today to attend this webinar. Have a great rest of the week, and thanks for attending.